Matt, you're so gay, dude.
Great way to start this.
Matt, you're gay with your brother, dude.
You guys brought the whole crew with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all gonna be here the whole time. We're gonna back up.
Now they're getting,
dude.
they are getting out of here.
Intro yourself. Who are you, number 2?
Dude,
What's
no,
up?
show them the drugs. Show them the drugs.
Drugs. Mike's just got assorted pills.
Yeah,
Nice.
those are my performance.
All right,
He's got to level
who you
himself
are,
out
number
for
2.
the podcast. He's got to get ready.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell who you are.
That's right.
Let
I'll be live now.
know who the number 2 is.
Number two.
In the world, baby.
That's right.
Aaron Eden's right here. This guy.
Yeah, do you ask if you're
Step-
live?
step-
See, it says live.
It says live right there.
Second in the world. Baby. Number 2.
82nd in the
Here we go, baby. What up?
But number 2 cameraman right here.
Number 2 cameraman. I relate with Mike.
I'll have to tell you all about that story a little bit.
All right.
Yeah,
Intro
yeah,
yourself.
that's the real question. How bad did you get smoked by Eric's cameraman? That's the real question.
Not that bad.
He actually beat him in time.
All right, I guess not that bad if they're saying that, but
But
it
he
felt
got
bad.
a no-shoot Mike. If he didn't get a no-shoot Mike, he would have fucking smoked that friend.
Dude, biggest stage. I've never shot at so many targets at once. Period. So
It was just
Pressure, that was
frustrating.
America versus France right there. We're all rooting for you.
Yeah.
So
Dude.
thanks for that.
I
Dude,
let
Aaron,
it down.
I thought Hunter had it.
France.
Yeah, Aaron is winning for France.
No, he said, who do you think's going to win?
No. He literally said, I can't say that on my. All right, bye, guys.
Aaron did spend a whole bunch of time over in France, so he's debatably French.
You're so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm sorry about that. All right, I'll see you later.
Enjoy.
Let me see. Is this better?
Now you're sideways.
No, this is good right here. I'm on my
Yeah.
phone. I don't have a laptop or anything with me, so.
But all right, Mike, if you want to just we can do a little intro. I think most people kind of already know who you are, but I kind of want to know a little bit about your origin. How long have you been competing for?
Yeah, so let's see. I've been competing for about 7 years now. I bought my first gun in 2018, late 2018. Unlike a lot of the guys that I shoot with, I didn't grow up shooting a ton of guns. I probably went to the firing range 10 times before I shot and bought that gun. And I started competing a little bit more seriously in mid 2019. So I'd probably say that's when I started. So about 6-7 years.
Nice. And then, fast. Obviously, there's a lot of time in between there. But how long did it really start taking you to start winning any major matches?
Oh, so when I switched from a production gun to an open gun is when I started winning matches. So yeah, I had a tough time with those iron-sighted guns. Not gonna lie, I always target focused. I don't know if it's because I played video games or what, but I was always looking at the target, and I always had trouble lining up the iron sights. So I knew immediately I wanted to go to the dot, and I was going to put a dot on my Shadow 2 at the time. And I saw the 2011s, I saw the SPI open guns, and I knew that's what I wanted, so I just went for it and got that, and never looked back since. And so, yeah, dude, I think the first major match I ever shot was Georgia State 2019, and I was B class, and I won B class there, and I just got hooked, and yeah, it's been awesome since then, man.
Yeah, that's cool. That's funny that you're rocking those weird nub things, and you're like, nah, I gotta go to something faster than this.
Yeah, man, I just never clicked with it, and even now, to this day, I'm probably the worst iron shooter you'll ever meet. It's terrible. At nationals, this past nationals in Utah, we went to the Kimber booth and we were checking out their guns, and I picked up their iron-sighted gun because it was the copper one, and I wanted to shoot the coolest looking one. And there was a plate rack, and I lined up the sights, and I was like, miss, and I looked over at Joey because Joey Sauerman, obviously best iron sight shooter in the country, was right next to me, and I handed it to him, and I was like, I don't think it's sighted incorrectly. He just picks it up. He's like, ting, 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 right off the bat. So I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
Yeah, I don't know. They're kind of old school and outdated, anyways.
Yeah.
Anyone shooting those bumpy things probably got something wrong with them, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely cope, but yeah.
So one thing with the open guns too, I hear people talk about it all the time, and I'm sure you get it too. It's your fundamentals don't need to be as good when you're shooting an open gun, right? But I know, from everyone I've talked to at the highest level, everything everyone always talks about is fundamentals.
Yeah.
How important are fundamentals to you, even though you shoot open?
That's such a good question, and there are like so many ways for me to tackle that. So I'll try to cover everything. Um, So like when people say that it's not as important for an open gun, like yes, but no. So yes, in that the open gun is more forgiving, and like I said, I shot a non-open gun for like 4 months before I switched to an open gun, and I am a one-trick pony, so it's like the only thing I shoot. I actually wanted to shoot, so I've got two masterpiece LOCV ones that don't get shot very much. And I'm sure Phil is like, why the hell did we get this guy two guns that he doesn't shoot? Well, I was gonna switch to LO for Graffel's class, which I'm sure he'll ask me a bunch of questions about.
Yeah.
And for the USA Extreme Open match that we're going to shoot in a couple days here. It's a 3-day match, big international match in Florida. It's a level 3 IPSC match, I believe. So I was going to switch to L for all that starting in early December, and I picked up the gun and I went to a couple practice sessions, and I lasted 2 weeks, and I was like, man, I just can't do this. And it's not only that I couldn't get with the gun, couldn't get with the program, again, I'll explain that a little bit more as well. But it's just that I was running out of time, and I didn't want to go to Graffel's class, which one, it's a rare opportunity, but two, travel expenses and all that. I didn't want to waste the class trying to just get accustomed to the gun, and I wanted him to critique me at my best. So I decided to switch back to open. I was the only one with a loud open gun in the class. But anyway, going back to the question, yes, it's a little more forgiving for sure, but it is still so important to grip that open gun, and in some ways, even more important because it's easy to forget. You need to grip the gun because you need that consistency. And yes, open guns are flatter, they cycle faster and all that, but you got to realize that everyone in your division has that same advantage. So every little advantage that you can get over your competitors is that much more important. And the difference between not gripping your open gun and gripping it properly as you should and all that, it makes a very big difference, both in the consistency of the way the dot moves up and down, and just in how, like I said, how consistent it is in the movement. When I switched to the yellow gun, it wasn't I didn't struggle because it was worse. Which I mean, technically, yes, it's slower. It's like slower. The dot moves more. All that, sure. If I shot that gun, which after this match, I think I do have a couple more months before I have a major match. I may go back and shoot LO again, just to force myself to learn it. If I spent a couple months learning it, I would get used to it. I'd get accustomed to the movement. I'd be able to shoot a little bit more predictably. All that, I think it'd be fine. It's not that it's worse. It's just that I'm so used to the open gun. Like I said, I'm a one-trick pony. It is one of my faults. I understand that, and I fully accept it. I'm not very good at switching guns, but it's something I'm working on. That's why I wanted to shoot some mellow. So being able to switch back and forth is a skill in itself, and I want to work on it. And I think I'll try to do that after this match.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, especially too, I've talked to some PCC shooters about it too, and it's like you have a more capable platform, which almost makes your fundamentals more important because you're forced to be shooting at a higher speed. Where if your fundamentals are not half as good, you can't keep up. Like there's no possible way in keeping up that speed, and especially when it comes to like the visual side, because you have to process things 10 times faster than someone with a slower cycling gun.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is like, maybe the grip side of things, obviously you have to grip the gun, but it's less input that you have to add, where someone with a CO gun, or your visual speed has to be probably 10 times faster. That's what my guess would be.
That's such a good point. And actually that's one of the other, avenues that I was going to that I wanted to touch up on. You just reminded me of it. But because everyone has those advantages and the sport is so much faster, every little minute detail matters so much more. So like think about a jam, for example. Whether if you have let's say you have a hammer follow, or like a round doesn't, like a light primer strike or something like that, and you have to rack the gun. Well, it takes me about the same amount of time to rack an open gun as it does to rack a production gun. But the times of production are all longer because you have the disadvantages, round count disadvantages, shooting iron sights, don't have the comp, all that, right? So a 10-second open gun stage might be 15 seconds for a production shooter. Well, relatively, that 2-second slide, racking matters much, much more for that open gun stage, right? And it doesn't just apply to jams. One little mistake here and there, one little misstep, footwork misstep, all of that, those are all considered fundamentals as well. Like, right, like proper movement, proper transitioning, all that stuff. So losing 0.2 seconds on a single transition for an open gun stage is a bigger percentage than it is for other divisions. So yes, um, the grip fundamentals are something that you really have to nail in those other divisions, but in open, you still have to work on that, and you have to think about all these other things as well. And like you said, the processing speed has to be there as well because you are shooting faster, because you are transitioning faster. Your dot is on the target for less time, etc. So they're all very interesting, creative, and super fun for different reasons. For me, I just love that super fast, like Formula One pace of open, and it is hard for me to shoot other divisions, but I do like to dabble here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. We race guns, and you have the F1 car division. So I mean, it definitely makes sense. I see the draw for open. I think people trying to like kind of neuter it is crazy because we shoot race guns essentially, and you know, having a division that's do the most you can do possible to a gun, and how fast can a human being shoot a handgun? I think always has its spot because it's definitely. It's one thing to pick up an open gun and go shoot your local matches and instantly start winning because of the scoring or it's just an easier platform. But now go take that and shoot at the highest level. Like you'll realize it is much harder to compete at the highest level than a lot of people give it credit to. Not saying the other divisions aren't difficult at the highest level, but a lot of people will switch and be like, oh, you know, a lot of these things don't matter for me because I shoot open and I'll win the local matches. But then, you know, you go shoot an area match or you go shoot nationals and you're like, why am I literally in the bottom half
Yeah.
in only open division?
It can be tough, man. Yeah, the margins are so paper thin. And I think sometimes people can look at scores at a big, you know, national match with combined division and they can, or, you know, not always nationals, even state matches, they'll see like 20 or 30 open shooters and like 150K optic shooters because it's a much more popular division. And it's a little easy to discount the fact that like the talent pool is still there, especially at the top level. Like Aaron, who was just, you know, in here, and like Christian and all that. Like there's so many top shooters in open. It's really tough. Those margins are so thin, and it's really a lot of times feels like it can be anyone's game. So yeah, it's a definitely a brutal competition for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like it really in most division, I don't want to throw shade at anyone, but pretty much all divisions, there's legit shooters at the top. Like no one's getting top 5 by accident. I mean, there may be a couple divisions where it's like, who are these people? But everyone knows those divisions. But yeah, no one's getting even in a state match, unless it's like brand new state match. No one's getting top 5 by accident. There's probably all decent shooters up in the top. And when you get to nationals, it's like a lot of those guys that, like Christian, he's going to shoot every division. So it's not like, or you'll have like, a GM or a GM carry optics guy, but he'll be like a master in limited optics. And you'd be like, who is this random guy? But then you realize, oh, they're a top. It's all the same, in my opinion. But okay, kind of segueing away from that, I kind of want to talk about your training a little bit. What's like a typical week look like for you training?
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's, you know, I've been on off season for a couple of months and just, you know, again, brute forcing my way back into it by taking a class with Griffel and just get my ass whipped. And so I'm trying to get back to it when it's major season and when I'm like serious into it and, you know, training and everything. One, I dry fire every day. I don't dry fire for an hour a day. But I make sure that I put my belt on and get my reps in. I'm usually Monday through Saturday. I'll take like Sunday off. Saturday I'm usually shooting a match actually. So Monday through Friday I'm dry firing. I try to do around 30 minutes, but I would say these days it's more rare for me to do it for that long because I have very focused goals in my dry fire. Like I'm not just drawing the gun 100 times or whatever. I'm working on specific things like transitions or a specific like movement technique or something. Or just mental game, really. That's actually more of what I'm doing now. Just make sure I'm keeping my shots even in dry fire, which is it's hard to stay disciplined enough to do that, but it's very important you do so.
Mhm.
So I'd say about 20 to 30 minutes per day. And what I
Nice.
do is I do 50 or 60 reps. So I usually start with 10 warm-up reps, which is just me standing and drawing and shooting at a couple, not a couple, but like 5 to 8 targets just in front of me, just to warm up. And then I have all these targets plastered all around my wall in my basement, and I will just create stages on the fly, and I'll do them 10 times. And so that's 5 different stages, 10 reps. That's already 50 reps. At a local match, you get 6 reps.
Right.
So compared to a local match, if you are able to stay disciplined enough to treat each run seriously and actually call your shots properly and treat it like you're actually out there shooting, it's a lot of reps that you're getting. So that can take me 20 minutes, that can take me 30 minutes, just depends on the stages, depends on how much running there is, et cetera. But usually between 12 and 20 something rounds, dry fire, I do that. Every time there's a match on a Saturday, I'll go. I still go to local matches. Like I was talking to Aaron this weekend, and he says he doesn't shoot local matches anymore because, I mean, he's on base. He has a massive range and tons of ammo in his backpack.
He's got a different opportunity than
Yeah,
anyone else. There's only one other human being that has the same opportunities that he does. So
right. It's
like,
very
I did the podcast with him too, and it was like talking to him about his training. I'm like, this isn't applicable for 99.9% of human beings to do.
we were.
But it was a cool perspective to see from him.
It was. We were just chatting out there. There's a massive hot tub at our Airbnb, so we've been in there for like 2 hours a day, just chit chatting. And he was talking about dry fire. And he's like, man, like, yeah, people talk about dry fire, but like, you can't get the same experience as live fire. Like, we're like, bro, like, we don't all get infinite ammo just to work with. Like, we got mouths to feed, we got bills to pay, and whatnot. No, and just
He should
mess.
be thanking us, actually.
Yeah, but truly though, like I mean, ammo's expensive, and so I 100% get it. Like for 99.9% of people, like you said, like the skills are learned in dry fire. You go. I 100% agree. Like if everyone had access to infinite ammo, yes, live fire is way better. And I do try to live fire a lot. I do. I almost feel like I maintain at this point. I maintain in dry fire. I maintain my visual acuity, just my gun handling and whatnot. And I do work on specific things if I feel like I'm not reaching my goals in certain areas. And a lot of times in live fire, I'm doing a lot of the same thing, but I'll take some array or some sequence in a match that I shot recently that I didn't really feel happy with or it felt awkward to me. Even if I did well on it, it just felt a little weird, footwork felt weird, or going into this port felt awkward. And I'll recreate that and do that. And I just go and shoot a few hundred rounds if I'm doing a practice session. If there's no match, if there's a match, I'll go to the match still. Going back to what I was talking about with Aaron not shooting local matches anymore, but I'll still go because no matter how hard I try to take a practice session, even a live practice session seriously, it's easy for me to fall into the habit of knowing that it's practice and knowing that if I get a mic or no shoot, whatever, like, and I've talked about that in other podcasts before where it's very important to get out of that mindset. And I work on it a lot. I've been trying to take each run seriously, only shoot the same stage once, maybe twice before I switch it up so that I don't get used to the sequences and whatnot. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's hard to do. So going to a match, you truly get one shot. You get the pressure of the beep going off behind you. You have the pressure of 13 to 15 people behind you watching. Real true stages with proper walls and fault lines and all that, as opposed to just having a couple markers and a couple barrels up and whatnot. So it's great practice, but I'll take local matches as great mental practice as well. So that's what my training looks like. I think for a lot of people that are somewhat newer, take the dry fire to work on speeding up your speeding up your gun handling, your transitions, your visual, how fast you're able to transition from one target to the next, all that stuff. Work on that. For me, again, it's a little more maintenance and like fine tuning and things like that. Minimizing mistakes, things like that for me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. How often are you outside of a match? Like, are you like, is yours like, I'm going to dry fire 6 days a week, shoot one local match in a weekend. If the local match isn't there, I'll shoot 200 rounds. or are you like more frequently hitting live fire sessions during the week, regardless of the match?
Oftentimes I live fire during the week. It depends. My previous job was pretty flexible. I still do work from home. I was working from home before, and if I had to leave at 2 or whatever, like not a big deal. And especially in the summer when we had daylight savings, sometimes I'd go out twice a week and just spend 3 or 4 hours um, before the sun went down practicing shooting 200-300 rounds. Definitely helps. But anytime I had a day off, which people are busy. You have life goes on. I don't have a kid, so I don't have a kid to take care of at the moment and whatnot. So anytime I had a free Saturday or Sunday, a lot of times I was out there shooting a few hundred rounds, right? Um, there were a couple of years where I went to the range every single day leading up to nationals for like 1 month. So I just didn't remember 2 years in a row I did that. I can't say that it helped me because I didn't perform spectacularly well relative to my skill level and where I project that I should have or could have been. But it was good practice at the end of the day. This past year, I just went to the match. Had one practice session a few days before, like I did, and I just did my usual, like once on the Saturday or maybe the Sunday, just did some tuning, equipment checks, things like that, and just went a lot better. I think that maybe going every single day built up maybe too many expectations and made me change the way I shot because I felt like I had to shoot a different way or I had to attain some type of time or speed or something like that. Maybe a little bit too much unneeded pressure on myself that I didn't need. So, this past year, I just built up the confidence to say, like, hey, if I just shoot my best match mode, my best speed, then I will do well no matter what. If my competitor does even better than me and I get second, third, fourth, 10th, whatever, so be it. It is what it is. But if I can shoot my best, then I know I will be up there somewhere. So
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, everyone kind of has their different strategies too. Like some people do like a crazy ramp up, and they're shooting thousands of rounds before the match. Some people are like, I've even known some people that take the whole week off before. They're like, I need my body to rest and hands to rest. So it's very different, right? But especially so much for our sport is mental, I feel like. And there's very little skills you can like drastically change the week before a major match. I mean, sure, you can probably fine tune some things, but you're not gonna revolutionize your shooting ability in a week. So I think you're definitely spot on. Where like building that mental side to know you can go in and be consistent and confident is probably way more worthwhile for your performance.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Like if you didn't spend the last year working on those skills, sharpening your knife or whatever, or adding new tools to your belt or whatever, you're not going to learn it in the 1 week before or even the 1 month before really nationals. I don't spend that time, all that range time learning new skills or whatever. I just fine tune my fundamentals, making sure I'm sharp, making sure I'm, ready and mentally ready and all that stuff. So 100% agree with you there.
Yeah, I mean, I always hear guys like obviously whatever local area match or whatever, you'll see a million people posting like, oh, getting ready for area whatever, and it's like the week of the match. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what have you been doing all year? Like you signed up for this thing like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
But no, that's a great point.
Let me see.
Something I want to talk about too is as well as training, like the fundamentals, like whether it be like, let's start with like vision because you brought that up.
Yeah.
What are some specific cues that you're looking for? I know the drill per se doesn't matter as much, but what cues, like what's a good rep versus a bad rep for you?
Good rep versus bad rep in terms of, sorry, what you said, like the vision?
Yeah, it's working your vision and transitions and such.
You mean like practice?
Yeah, when you're practicing.
Okay, yeah. So, transitions are a really big part, right, of what I train and also what I teach. So, like, that's probably like the number one thing that I hammer. I actually have, what do you call it? I'm gonna call it a self, I'm promoting myself here / promoting PSTL, but I have 2 courses up there, and one of them is transitions, right, where I go over all of this stuff in minute detail. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. But it's just one of the most important things for you to learn in order for you to shave time on your runs, right? All the dead time in between one target to the next is truly where most people at that that mid to high level are losing time on. So like around that, obviously everyone is losing a little bit of time there compared to like the best shooter in the world, right? But
Or the number two.
um yeah, so that dead time in between is where you can gain so much time without inducing additional mistakes or without having to speed up faster and sacrifice your accuracy, right? So being able to, in a nutshell, being able to bump transition off one target to the next. So ripping your dot off that target once you're done with it is a perfect bump transition off, and that's what you're going for every single time. Every time you fire that second shot on that target, you don't need to spend another single millisecond on it, right? So you need to get right off of it, right? And then the flip side of it, on the entry to the next target, as soon as your dot enters that alpha zone, you can start pulling the trigger to get an alpha, right? You don't need to wait for your dot to settle necessarily even in the center of the alpha. I know it's good to have a small point of aim or like a small section of aim in the alpha, right? But you do have the entire alpha in alphas and alpha, so you have the entire alpha to play with. So I do a lot of drills where as soon as my dot crosses the alpha line, like the alpha Charlie line, I pull the trigger, and that trains me to pull as soon as I get there, as opposed to ripping my gun there. How many times do you notice or see in your videos or watch someone else shoot, and you can see their muzzle stop, and they either overshoot and they have to come back, or they undershoot and they have to go, or even sometimes it's dead on middle, but for some reason they're just over confirming and not pulling the trigger yet. So there's ways to train that in a very minute level, and then you start building other, or you start adding other aspects to the drill, right? So you might start with one shot, just bring your dot onto the target, and as soon as it crosses the alpha zone or the alpha line, pull the trigger, right? And then maybe you pull the trigger twice, because that's more realistic as to what you do in a match. And then you draw and do it twice, and something like that, right? You just add more and more distractions, I call them. You keep distracting yourself with the focus of trying to maintain that same fundamental that you're working on of pull the trigger as soon as it crosses that alpha line. So that is, in a nutshell, the most fundamental way to work on those drills, in my opinion, or the way that I've done it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So one thing with target transitions, I've heard like two different camps, right? One camp is like, obviously get the gun off and put pure force into pushing the gun to the next target. And then I've heard else where it's like your gun will just magically float there and will get to where your eyes are looking. And I'm sure you've probably heard both camps as well. And it's funny because I know high-level shooters that do either one and have good results. What's your take on that?
If I'm understanding correctly, I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both, right? So let's talk about a wide transition, because in a narrow transition, like your eyes kind of just naturally they shouldn't be following the dot, but they're going to get there at a similar time, right? Because it's narrow transition. It's almost like on a plate rack, you kind of like follow together, you know? Let's talk about like a wide, like 90-degree transition or a wider transition, right? So yes, you want to rip your gun off that first target, right? You don't want to slowly float your gun to the next, you're wasting time there. That's what I refer to as like the actual like raw transition speed, right? The actual like travel time. So especially on a wide transition, you want to rip your gun off. And even Eric, this past weekend, or I guess a couple days ago, gave me one criticism on my very first run where we were doing a drill with literal 180 transition. Like they were on the 180 line from one to the other. And I was slight rainbowing. Like my gun was fully extended all the way from one side to the other. And he was telling me, bring your gun slightly in, because, less leverage means you get to go, cross over faster, which I knew that, but I wasn't doing. And so you want to get there fast, but I refer to something else called the 90-10 rule as well, where for the first 90% of the travel time, you need to be going fast, but then for that last 10%, you need to start slowing down. And that's how you avoid crashing and going over, right? So your eyes are going to dart to that next target. You're going to rip your gun off. And yes, with enough training, your dot's going to go where your eye is going. But it's not one or the other, because that you still have the aspect of like, if you don't slow down, then you will go over. If you slow down too much, then you will shoot under. You need to find that perfect 90-10 amount by practicing. So your eyes dart first. Your eyes always have to lead first. You know, unless it's a very narrow transition. If it's a wide transition, your eyes should always go first, and you will go really fast and then decelerate, and your dot will go where you're looking, and you pull the trigger as soon as that alpha line gets crossed.
Yeah, that's a perfect explanation. So let's dive into grip. So what are some of your cues? Like when you draw the gun, you got perfect grip. Or say you're doing like either doubles or one shot return, whatever drill you like to do to kind of refine your grip. What are you doing with your hands? Are you doing a lot more grip pressures where you're trying to change how your hands are oriented? Are you like, oh, I want to do a ton of pressure with my left and a different thing with my right? Like there's a million ways a lot of coaches like to talk about it. What are you doing with your hands when you grip the gun?
I have, for my gun, found a specific left hand grip pressure. So like my right hand I try to be relaxed. I actually do have issues sometimes where I will still kind of jerk the trigger a bit with my right, and some of that has to do with hand pressure, but a lot of times when you're jerking the trigger, it's mostly mental as well. So, you know, it happens on mini poppers at 15 yards for a reason. It happens on like 25-yard no shoots for a reason, right? Because it's a mental thing. You're scared of the target. You're looking at it at the light, and you're scared. So just as a side note, the key to that is just to aim smaller at the brown. Like, don't even think about the white. As soon as you think to yourself, I'm scared of the white, you're going to look at the white, you're going to jerk the trigger down into the white. Anytime I say I'm just going to aim at the smaller brown target, I usually don't have that issue. So that's one thing. But second of all, so yeah, my right hand, usually my last two fingers, I'll apply a little bit of pressure on the grip just to keep that good stability. These three fingers, obviously, well, these two, I guess, have to be a little bit more relaxed so that your trigger finger can work. If you start putting a little bit too much tension in these two fingers, then it'll like symbiotically just transfer to your trigger. So I usually just focus on my pinky, and it transfers a little bit to my ring, and that's a good grip right there. With your left, you're crushing a little bit harder, obviously. And I just do like the crushing motion that I think most shooters are still doing now. And I've actually found a good kind of middle ground for myself for my open gun. So I found that if I crush a little too hard, and maybe it has to do with some tension in my wrist or my shoulder or something, or maybe just even in my hands. If I crush a little too hard, sometimes the dot gets a little bit more erratic. I think every piece of pressure that you're applying with your hand, your palm, but also your individual fingers. Like I've talked to Christian about this too, because I was trying to improve my grip, and I wanted to reach out to him because his grip fundamentals are very solid. So definitely someone to learn from as well, if you have even more questions. But he was telling me to play around with my individual finger grip pressures because each one does something different to your dot movement. If your dot's moving like more to the right and coming back down, then you might need to apply a little bit more pressure with your left fingertips, and that'll help kind of like straighten that out a little bit. So just with enough practice and repetition, I've just found a specific grip that I've just muscle memory at this point, growing accustomed to, that allows my dot to go straight up and down and land right back where you want. Right back where you started, because that's what you want. At the end of the day, yes, it's not great if your dot goes to the right. It's not great if it does a slight oval or whatever, but if it's going back to center, then that is at minimum what you can work with, right? I sometimes if I over grip, it does get a little bit erratic, and worst of all, sometimes it dips down for me. I'm running a 7-pound recoil spring in my open gun, so I can't really go much lower than that, right? They make 6-pound springs, but then especially on a 9mm gun, that's going to start cracking slides. So I don't get any lower than that. And if I grip a little too hard, sometimes my dot starts to dip a little bit, and then I shoot that no shoot target. And if I predictive shoot and shoot right when it comes back down to center, it'll dip and I'll hit that no shoot, for example, if I'm not used to it. So yeah, again, I found some middle ground that works for me. So it'll just take a little bit of playing around with it and some time and experience, and it might not be something that you even get in like 1 or 2 practice sessions. Like I've tried to change my grip a couple times here and there, and it takes more than just one 200 round session to like formulate your new grip, right? You kind of got to mess with it a little bit. But yeah, that's what I've done.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. I found too, like really refining your grip is you got to do it in live. Like it's really
Okay.
hard. Like you got to learn what the right pressures are in live fire, and then you can work to just replicate them and maintain them in dry fire. But you can't, it's really hard. Other than learning how to pull the trigger without disturbing your sights, I feel like you can do that in dry fire. But once you're past that really basic level of grip, you gotta actually put bullets downrange, and then you can work to just maintain in dry fire with your grip pressures and make them kind of subconscious out off the draw. Um, so when we talk about movement, I know you talked a lot about like blending positions and stuff like that, especially in your coaching videos and such. When you walk up to a stage, what are some things that you look for where you're like, this is a great opportunity to blend these two positions?
Yeah. So the first thing that I do, I guess going all the way back, is know how many rounds there are on the stage. That's number one, because the number of times you go up to stage and someone doesn't do that and they miss a target, you don't want to be that guy that FTSA is a target on the first stage of the match. Then I find all the different required positions on the stage, right? So that's like the second step. So there may be 4 or 5 positions on a stage, or maybe it's just like a big circle where you can go anywhere, but you go to every corner of the stage where you have to be because there's a target hidden behind a barrel or something like that, right? The forced positions. And then you start thinking about, because most of the time, fewer positions generally means better times, right? Like if you can shoot the same number of targets from 3 positions instead of 4, most of the time it's going to be an advantage, right? And that's where blending comes in. I look at the required position and I think to myself, how can I turn this from 2 positions into like 1.5, I like to call it, because you're blending it and you're constantly shooting. So really it is 1 position with some shooting on the move in between. And that's how I start tackling the idea of how do I start blending here. So that's the goal of blending, right? Take 2 positions and turn them into 1 so that you're not dropping your gun, having to accelerate from 0, which takes time, and then slowing down again, which takes more time, stabilizing, shooting the targets at 0 speed from a standstill, and repeat and rinse and repeat, right? If you are constantly shooting during that whole time, then it's turning it into 1 position, saving time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, the timer doesn't pick up your feet. It only picks up when you shoot. So if you keep shooting the whole time, you don't have any dead time, then your hit factor will only go up.
Right.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, when you're looking to blend a position, right? So you've identified those 2 areas. You're like, all right, I got this kind of target group is probably going to be the last array in this area, and I have to connect it to this position. How are you kind of looking at that? Like, are you really turning on the gas when it's time to transition and using that dead time to move your feet? Are you really trying to push your feet on a certain target of the array? Like, how are you kind of planning that?
Yes, all of it, everything, pretty much everything you just said. Like there's so much to it, and again, it comes with time and experience. And a lot of when I was learning how to blend, I was over blending like so much, like just forcing blends, and in spots that I probably shouldn't have. But it's all part of the learning process. You have to fail to learn, right? So you really what you want to do is if I think, okay, positions 3 and 4 are close enough to each other where I could potentially blend you. Let's say they're like 4 steps away, right? Because if it's 6 steps or more, it's probably just going to be 2 separate positions, right? Like it's going to be hard to find enough targets or enough rounds to shoot in 6 steps to be able to accomplish a blend. So like let's say 4 steps or less, right? So are there any easy open targets that I can see from the first position and in the second position that I can use to exit easier or enter easier, right? If I can shoot something on the move exiting position 1 and or an easy target that I can enter on in position 2, then I can use those as my blending targets to accomplish that, right? Ideally, you have both, right? Sometimes you don't. Like if there's a wall that's cutting off the targets, and as you leave position 1, the last target that you can see is just like a really hard no shoot. You can't shoot that backing up. That you just can't do it. So you won't be able to exit blend off that position, right? But maybe you still have after that no shoot, you don't have to take any steps, or maybe it just takes one step to the side to see the first target of the next position, and you have like 3 open targets there. Then you can go straight from the no shoot, and then after going that target, you start moving the other direction, and you shoot targets 1, 2, 3, and then whatever else you have, right? Without dropping a gun, right? So that's the kind of thing that I'm looking for.
So you're really trying to, one, minimize positions is the first thing you're looking at. Then two, using dead time to really gain distance, whether it be like the transition, and then you're kind of limiting risk on how aggressive you can leave the position to combine the next.
That's right.
I'm kind of understanding what you're saying, because you're like, all right, if I know I need to cover ground, right?
Mhm.
But is it worth dropping points on this, or is it worth taking good points and making it 2 positions?
Exactly. And to add to that too, to your initial statement, yes, I'm trying to eliminate positions. I'm trying to eliminate dead time by constantly shooting throughout, as opposed to dropping my gun and having pauses in the shooting. And again, it has to be realistic. Like if you wouldn't normally shoot those blend targets on the move, in any other case, then you can't use it in the blending, right? But if it's an open target within 10 yards that you can easily move on, then yeah, use that target.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this is great advice too, because so many shooters, I know you've seen it probably a lot more than I have, but they'll go and this is their stage plan, right? They'll be like, all right, I know I have to get to these 3 positions. I'm going to run to this one first, shoot these targets. I'm going to run to this position, shoot these targets, run to this position, shoot those targets, and I'm done. And they don't realize that like shooting skill matters, right? But the vast majority of the time is what you're doing when you're not shooting. And it's really the best stage. Like there's only, in my opinion, only one universal stage plan. And it's whoever can minimize the time not shooting the most usually is going to win that stage, provided they get good points. And yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head too with blending those positions. It's really just keep shooting the whole time and use your dead time to your advantage to move your feet.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even like sometimes it's not even shooting on the move. Sometimes you have an array on the right and then you have an array on the left. And I see even high level shooters every once in a while drop their gun in between. Like as they transition, they drop the gun and represent, and you lose a few tenths of a second, half second there. But that's still time unnecessarily wasted, right? And it all just comes down to the fact that they didn't plan to go straight from the last target of position 1 to the first target of position 2. They didn't plan it. So all that to say is when you're trying to implement this blending technique, you have to plan it. It all starts with the stage plan. And it's funny that in the 2 days that we were working with Griffel this year, just in the last 2 days, I felt like it was a class on stage planning. Like that seemed to be like the biggest theme. Like obviously we worked on ton of movers. We worked on some shooting on the move drills, and accuracy was, getting alphas was emphasized and everything. But it felt like the underlying theme and message of most of the drills that we did was like, what is the best stage plan here? And we and he came up with, I wouldn't say necessarily complicated stages. I mean, they were, because we made them difficult in practice. Like we implemented rules like you had to shoot all the no shoots and then the paper, which gets you thinking. Like you're never going to shoot something like that in a match, but if you're able to think at that level, then when you get to the match, it's going to be a lot easier. But it just got us thinking outside of the box. Like, on this, even this short 12 round static shooting course with like one swinger, what is the best order? And like most people just go and say like, yeah, I'm going to activate it. I'm going to shoot something. I'm going to shoot the swinger, and then I'm going to shoot something else or whatever. Like it'll be fine. And a lot of times, even I have been saying this a lot. Like the stage plan matters, but like execution matters more. So it's whatever. Like no, Eric doesn't accept that. There is a best stage plan out there for every single stage. It doesn't matter if it's 0.001 better. If it's better, it's better, and you have to take that plan. And like it's so high level and like advanced that I almost feel like it's like grabbing for like the last 0.01% of performance. And I don't think it, like even for me, like I don't I'm gonna have to practice it a lot to really make use of it, I think. But I think for most people, it's like not grasping for straws. That implies like a negative connotation, but it's just like such like a small amount sometimes. At the end of the day, that there's plenty of other stuff that we can work on as well to improve our performance. And but it's cool that he had us thinking outside of the box and make me think about even a simple stage where I normally would have said like, hey, here are 3 stage plans and I'm gonna go with this one because it feels the best to me. Well, I feel like 4 out of 5 times it was not the plan that Eric took. You know what I mean? And I mean, so obviously I'm the wrong one, right? I'm not gonna pretend like I can say something better there. And it's funny is there were a couple times where I just didn't like I didn't like question him, like I didn't like confront him or anything, but I just said like, Eric, you told me what the answer is, and I still don't understand why this plan is better. Like I don't understand why this plan is better than this one, and he explained it and whatnot, and then I would try it, and it would work out. And sometimes the times were the same, sometimes the times were better, and so it's opened my eyes a little bit, and I'm going to try to work on that a little more, being a little bit more exploring when it comes to stage plans. I'm going to be sure to implement more complicated things and self-imposed rules and things like that when I go to practice. Instead of just setting up 6 targets and saying, I have to go here and shoot these 3, and then go here and shoot these 3. Like, I'm not going to prescribe the target engagement order. I'm going to impose rules upon myself and try to find the best plan for that, and then only shoot it once or twice. And then I'm going to change it up a little bit, maybe change the start position, change the rules or whatever, and try and find the next best plan. Just kind of exercises the brain a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, from people that have trained with him, it seems like it's a big mentality change. Like,
Yeah.
like a lot of what he's coaching is such. It's not even like a direct skill change. It's like a mentality switch. Like what you're doing is not 100% efficient to winning, or anyone, right? Like it seems like the feedback I've gotten from his class is like it's a huge mentality shift. I mean, the guy's won for a decade straight. I mean, he's got more experience than most of us. So
It's 3 decades, right? 10-time champ. It's every 3 years, so 30 years.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 30
Yes.
years, 3 decades. Yeah, it's even crazier.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So he definitely has that different edge of that mentality. That's just like, it probably doesn't make sense, but then you're like, he has it for a reason and it works. So
Yeah, definitely. I had so many people ask me what I learned in class, what secrets did I learn in the last class and whatnot. And it was just hard to describe. And it's not that I was trying to withhold information. And I mean, it's not like he tells us like, oh, keep this a secret or anything. I think the information is that he's welcome to share it. It's not that. It's just that like I said, it was like a thinking class. It was like a stage planning and thinking outside the box type of class. Like if you wanted to go and learn how to be a better pistol shooter or like have better grip or whatever fundamentals, like we didn't do that in this class. Like it was to train your mind, train the way that you think about stages and stage plans and how you're going to execute your plan, and thinking about every little detail in your plan and applying that. That was a big theme of course as well, especially for me. I'll have 100 details in my stage plan and accomplish 80 of them, but that still leaves out 20 little things that I could work on, right? That's where the gap is between me and the top shooters. So yeah, it is a really interesting class. And again, a lot of times I feel like a lot of stuff we learn is like that last tiny little bit. So yeah,
yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So how are you looking to change your training based off that mentality switch? I know you kind of talked about like more complexity. Like, are you typically doing like full live fire field courses? Because from the videos I've seen, it seems like you guys basically set up a couple field courses and just ran them a bunch of different ways. And like you said, you have a bunch of different rules. Are you gonna plan to shift a lot of your live fire training to more of that and less of skill isolation? Or like, I don't know, what's your plan going forward?
you got to work on all of it, right? So just because we didn't touch up on like fundamentals and things like that in this class, and not that we didn't touch on it, but like it wasn't like a heavy focus. You still need to work on that. That's kind of like implied. It's almost like the anti to get
Right.
for this class, right? What we ended up doing was a lot of what we did was, yeah, you saw big field courses. I don't know what videos were posted or whatever. I took like no videos of the class because I don't know. I should have taken more. I was just so busy like absorbing knowledge that I kept reminding myself to take a video here and there or getting someone to film my runs or whatever. I just didn't because I just kept forgetting because I was just so like, I was trying to absorb whatever I could. But a lot of what we did was like 3 small drills and then combining it all into one stage and like overwhelming yourself with just so much. And I kept having a great run and then a bad run and then a great run and then a bad run. And when I say bad, like bad, like forgetting target engagement orders and whatnot, because like I'm not shooting 40 plus rounds in a given stage with 3 activation sequences and also trying to expand my mind a little bit more by taking a slightly different engagement order than I normally would have to like follow Eric's, rules as he calls them, um, to kind of like maximize the times and the points that you're getting and whatnot. Just there's a lot going on, and you also know you're being watched by an instructor, so you want to make sure that you're covering all the other things like technique wise that he has talked to you about. There's so much going on. So and one thing too was he only gave us like he would set up this massive complex course and he gave us 3 minutes, 3 minutes to walk it, and when I go to IMSIC match and I have 3 minutes, I walk the stage and I come up with a plan and I say, I've got 3 minutes to visualize. And so I'm going to stick with one plan. I'm going to go for it. And this is where he actually says, because I teach my students, once you are 5 to go, like that's the very, very base minute. Once you are 5th to go, you're not allowed to change your plan anymore. He has the complete opposite mindset, and like he's Eric, so like he can do this. Even I cannot really do this to that extent. Like once I have a plan burned in, sometimes it's very difficult to change it. He will change his plan for like a 0.5% advantage. Like I was told by Randall tells that he has watched him um, do his final dry run when he's on deck, and then watch the shooter go, and then he makes ready, and then he shoots a completely different plan because he has deemed that it is like 1% better. I can't do that at this point. Maybe if I practice more like we did in these past couple of days, maybe I'll learn that, train that muscle and be able to do a little bit better. But yeah, it's a lot of like overwhelming yourself. So he gave us 3 minutes, and that's 3 minutes to find the best plan. And obviously, we're all being stretched, like our minds are being stretched here. So we want to find every little efficiency that we can. So we spend like 2.5 minutes doing that, which is already fast, right? And then we have like 30 seconds to visualize, depending on where you are. So the couple times where I was like first or second, and I had like one visualization round for like a 45-minute round stage, and I was just like, like some of those rounds were brutal. But towards and then again the whole like I was on the off season and whatnot, I guess that's just an excuse. But towards the end of the class, my last few runs were pretty solid. I posted a video earlier today, just a really short clip. Again, that was the one of the clips that Alan, Eric's camera guy, took and asked him to send me that so I could post it. Unfortunately, you can't see the targets, but it looks pretty sporty. It's a 15-yard mini popper, and then it's 7 pretty much open targets. Like some of them were like halfway covered or whatever, but 7 open targets like 3 yards away to your right. I did only get like a couple Charlies though, I think on those. So it's not like I was just blasting, whatever. I was actually getting hits, and then I come over and hit that swinging plate. That swinging plate was brutal. Like there were a few times where we shot like 7 or 8 shots at it. It doesn't those swinging plates never look hard when you're walking it, and then when you get up there and you're waiting for that plate to come out, and man, it's one of those plays. So we had a few of these at IPSC Nationals this past year. It's so slow that if you miss it one time, it was a 1.5 second loss to come back and make it
It's
up.
not even worth shooting at again.
Yeah, so there was one run where it was we did the math and it was not worth it. So you took one shot at it, and if you missed it, then it was not, because the hit factor was so high, it was not worth making it up. And it's so obvious at the time, but with everything else going on, like I didn't do the math, I didn't calculate it, and when I did it, I made it up like twice. I lost like 3 seconds. And the high hit factor was a 15. So, I obviously didn't do well there, but at Ipswich Nationals, same thing happened. We had a few of those, and it was actually worth not even taking. I believe a lot of the guys on the super squad didn't even take one pass at it, or maybe they took one and left, or maybe they just activated it and then threw it around and took a mic. I think that's actually what they did. So you got to do that. You got to do that math sometimes to see if it's worth it or not. But yeah, I didn't get too many videos, but I learned a lot. So I took some notes.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the class too. It's like I've taken classes before. Honestly, the last thing I'm thinking of is let me take my phone out and like take some videos. At least me, I'm just like I'm trying to like hold my ears closed so the information doesn't fall out of my head. So I'm trying to take so much in. But yeah, no, I don't blame you at all for not taking any videos. But yeah, that is a wild fact about Eric's, like, because I know Rob Epifania took his class like a few years ago, and they were teaching him like, I don't care if you're like next up to shoot, like it's your turn. You have to be able to change your stage plan. Like it's until they say make ready, like you haven't decided yet. And it goes against like most people's rule of thumb. It's like once I get my stage plan, like I'm not changing it. But when you get to the top, like 0.5% can be a national championship or not, or even less at some point.
Yeah, I gotta put like a giant asterisk on that one because again, I teach the opposite, and I think it's one of those things where like, okay, it works for Eric at the top. If you're a new, let's say if you're a new shooter, like it's your first or second USPSA match, clearly like you don't want to be doing that, right? So there's some gradient there, right? And I think that the break even point is somewhere near the top. Like I think that for me, at my current skill level, or maybe my specific skill or ability to adjust my stage plan on the fly, maybe that's a muscle I haven't really worked out enough yet. And so for me, if I'm second to go and I change my plan opposite, then I will probably suffer way more potential losses and have more risks than the one or maybe like half second or whatever that I might potentially gain. So for me, even to this day, it's still not going to be worth it to do that. But that's going to be something that maybe I'll explore this year and try to do a little bit more. And with these practice sessions and the overloading of the mind and vision and everything, maybe that's something I'll be better at. So
yeah, the number one skill I hear from literally anyone when it comes to performing well at like a major match is consistency. Like you can have a stage win, but if you go and have a 70% or 60% run on your next, like it's not going to matter. Like you pretty much evened yourself or worse out on those two. And oftentimes the guy that wins didn't win every single stage. It's more who can consistently compete at their best the entire match. And avoiding risk plays huge into that. And just like you said, like if that muscle isn't flexed up, ready to go to swap your stage plan in the last second, you're risking more than the reward is worth. And especially for a new shooter, find a stage plan you're comfortable with doing correctly. And as long as you can execute it with no mental errors, that's going to be your best run, regardless.
Exactly.
And then as you get better, you can experiment with it. But yeah, I think you're spot on with that. If you can't consistently know that this stage plan I can get alphas at, then you're probably risking much more than the reward's worth.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so I know everyone's been calling you number 2, and I'm going to take a wild assumption, all right, and say that you want number 1 eventually. What?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
What are you doing this year to take that spot at nationals this year?
So I will say, of course. I will also say that I am ecstatic. When people call me number 2, I take it as a term of endearment. Like I'm very ecstatic about, coming in second place to Christian Seiler. I mean, that is
as you should. That you're second in the world.
Yeah, it's no small feat. He's, he's fucking Christian, right? And So that's something I'm very proud of. And, you know, I want to continue to get better and grow. And we shot a few matches last year, and, you know, he blew us out of the water at Worlds for sure. The closest I got to him was 1.6% at Area 5 last year. So that's, and that was August or no, it wasn't September because Worlds was September. I can't remember exactly when Area 5 was, but it was during that whole string of like, man, I shot so many matches last year that were just seemed back to back to back, mostly area matches, so they were multi-day and, you know, multi-day traveling and everything. But that was a close one, and it was really the first time where I thought to myself like, I can do it. Like he's had a couple of, you know, off matches in the past, right? Like at IPSC, I got him there at IPSC in Florida a few years ago, but he was having a pretty off match, right? And I don't want to beat him when he's on like a pretty bad swing, right? I want to I want to do well. I want to get to the point where he's looking back and seeing that, you know, I'm right there and behind him, and, you know, getting him a little bit nervous. You know what I mean? I'll get him a little nervous.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Get him
so,
back to the drawing board.
yeah, that's right. So, you know, we're coming off Worlds and whatnot, and we're hanging out, but we're still trying to train and get better. So I'm just going to continue to work on a few things. Every year I pick a few things, and I actually haven't necessarily picked that list yet. I wanted to take the class, so I'll probably start doing that soon. I wanted to take a class with Graffel, see if that would inspire anything. And obviously, as I've talked in the last, you know, 20 minutes about what we were talking about in the class, I'm going to implement some of that stuff, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, I just want to keep climbing, keep getting there. Like year after year, I've been improving, and I want to, at a certain point, like it feels like I'm going here like that, and hopefully, um, you know, we'll get there and get to the point. Like it always starts that way. Like even when I started shooting, there were guys that were much better than me. Like when I was B class, there were guys in A class. When I was A class, there were guys in N class, G, and all that. And eventually, the way it works is you start to like kind of nip at their feet, right? And then, you know, they have an off day, and you catch them, you know, at a local match, or you catch them one time, and then they beat you the next 3 times, and then you catch them again, and then it starts to be like every other, and you start training back and forth and whatnot. So, you know, maybe it'll be like that. But I mean, obviously Christian is always training and always trying to get better, right? Like he's not complacent, and he's not happy with winning, right? As he says in interviews, he's not happy with winning. He wants to win more and more. So it's gonna be a battle, and I think it's gonna be a good one. But, you know, we'll see how it shakes out. And like I love competing against him, man. Like he's an awesome dude. Love hanging out with him at matches. Love hanging out with his parents and everything. So it's definitely like a, you know, friendly vibe and everything. But, you know, we're competitors here. We're all, you know, we all want to do well. So
Yeah, we know what you're in here for. But yeah, that's awesome. I mean, anyone beating him is well deserved, regardless if it's an off day or not. But I definitely see what you're saying, 100%. And that's just the natural progression of things too. Like very rarely does someone just randomly pop up out of the blue and start beating everyone. Like that just, it doesn't happen.
Mhm.
But just like what you said, like you may get them there, and then it's a stage, and then it's a match, and then it's, you know, trading, and then it's, you know what I mean? Like that's the natural progression of just getting better.
Yeah.
So another topic I want to touch with you is burnout, because obviously, you know, we're in the off season now. Obviously, people ramp up for these major matches. There's a lot of pressure. Obviously, put a lot of stress on our bodies, and more mental than anything with this sport. Like, is burnout something you've ever dealt with, or like, how do you manage it? Is this something you ever had to think about?
It is. It is definitely something that, so like last year I took 5 months off. After nationals in, I believe, October, it would be 2024. I did take Raffel's class in January in 2025, and shot extreme. But after that, I think I put the gun down pretty much again until March. So it was effectively 5 months off. And then I had like the best year of my life, right? So I used to grind through the off season. Like those first few years when I would go to the range like 4 times a week. You know, like Saturday, Sunday, and then like twice a week, like you were saying. So I would grind. And I would take the off seasons and be like, hey, like these guys are taking 3 months off. I'm going to keep training. So when I started out, like the fuel was like there, right? nowadays, I think, 7 years in, burnout is real. It can be real. I haven't really felt like the need to like put the gun down for too long. I want to take a few months off, and again, like I said, I wanted to take a little bit more time out this year, but I felt more burnout last year than I did this year for some reason. Um, and so this year, starting with this class and this match, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep it up. Dude, it took me like 3 months to get back on the horse last year. It took me a while. It took me a long time to get back into it. So now I think towards the end of the class, I mentioned that I had some good runs, bad runs. It was like almost like clockwork. Like every other run was good, every other run was bad. But in the second half of the second day, I started feeling it back, and like my last 3 runs in a row were really good, and then it culminated in that that little like speed shoot that I posted on Instagram earlier today. That was the last drill like run that we did, so that went well. So I had a few good ones in a row, and then hopefully we'll continue that on when we shoot the match this weekend. So that's to say, like to go back to your original question, yeah, it's real. Take a few months off during the off season when it's cold. Enjoy your time. Thankfully for me, once I decided to get back on it, it was just like getting right back into it, like going right back into like going to the gym or whatever. Like it's just something that I do. Like it's not something that I am like, should I do it? Should I not? Like once I'm back in it, I'm just like, yeah, we're doing it. Dry fire every day. The outdoor training. If there's not a match on Saturday, I'm not staying indoors and hanging out. I'm going out to the range anyway and practicing by myself. So
Yeah, no, I feel like too, like when everyone's starting, they have all the motivation, and I think it's probably like how you started training like crazy is probably how you got to the position you're in now. And now it's like, I'm obviously speaking for you and assuming here, but it's like now it's more about maintaining consistency for you at your highest level. Because I mean, at some point there's the human function of what you can do with a handgun. And I'm sure you can do it, but now it's about doing it 100% of the time and building that consistency. Probably takes a lot of enthusiasm when you're going to the range to now start shooting 50-round stages and have to totally burn out your mind every single session. I'm assuming it's going to be extremely frustrating, especially for your first few months. But
that's true. I didn't even really think about that, but yeah, it's gonna be tough for sure. And here in the class, like I'm excited. I got people around me. I got friends, and I got Eric there to like kind of give me feedback. But like, yeah, it's gonna be tough. Because I mean, I'm sure you guys have all had that session where you go practice and it doesn't work out the way you want it to. Like sometimes I go to practice and I'll be like, all right, this is a match, and I'm going to punish myself for every mic and no shoot and whatnot. And so all I want to do is go clean, and I still plug that no shoot. I'm like, what the heck? I'll plug the second time, and I'm like, all right, this is just like, oh man, the frustration is real. But it's part of it, man. It's part of the journey. And I will say, so one thing that I didn't mention was, well, I mentioned the matches that I shot last year, but I didn't mention the in between. So there was a period of time where like, oh man, like Area 8, I can't remember the exact orders, but I shot Area 8, 7, 5, 6 Worlds, IPSA and USPSA Nats in, I feel like a span of like 3 months. And some of those matches were back to back. If I recall correctly, Area 8 and Area 7 were literally the weekend apart, like right next to each other. So like I flew back from one and then flew out for the other one a few days later. I'm not a big travel guy, so like that's not normal for me, but I wanted to shoot a lot more areas last year, so I did. And I was shooting so many majors, and I also felt so in tune with the gun, and I felt so on it towards that second half of last year that I didn't even practice in between those matches. So like I actually stopped training because I was like, I'm not going to be, I'm not gonna, like I said, like you said before, I'm not gonna learn new skills, and I feel so in tune with it already that I don't even feel the need to like additionally burn myself out by going to the range in between those 2 weekends. Or like even if I had 2 weeks apart, I might go and just shoot a local match, or I might dry fire here and there just to make sure that I'm not like getting rusty during that 2 weeks. But I wasn't like forcing myself to train like I was going. I was just like, I'm on it and I'm ready to go. I just felt like I was going to matches, like going to this match and then performing, and then going to this match and then going to that one. And so I feel like once you're on it, and especially during the major season, you maintain and you stay sharp, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something Brantley was talking about too when I talked to him. He's like, basically his off season is like, I don't really touch it. If I want to, I will. And then when it comes major match season, he's like, yeah, I have like a minimum. Like I won't let myself slide, but he's like, I'm traveling all the time. We're going to shoot these matches where it's like in between. If I want to train, I'm going to train. And like I have a minimum per week that I'm going to hit. And it's kind of along those lines. But yeah, you definitely can burn yourself out, especially when you're starting to get travel. And it's like, okay, now I'm flying because then it's 3 days here. And then, I got a week. And then I'm getting back on a plane to fly somewhere else. And then, yeah, it can be a lot to start to travel and shoot matches, where, shooting the local match with the boys every weekend does not simulate that same kind of stress and pressure, in my opinion. I don't even think it's close. But yeah, no, that's a good point. So kind of circling the end of this, I kind of want to like, how was Worlds for you? I mean, was this your first World shoot?
Mm-hmm. First one.
How was that experience? It's probably so different from anything you've ever done.
Yeah, dude. It was just so awesome. So freaking. I mean, it's just putting a smile on my face right now thinking about it. I mean, there's so much I can say about it. The trip itself was so awesome. So, Hunter, actually, everyone that was in the room, both Hunters and Aaron and I and like 10 other people stayed in a hunting lodge together, which was just so incredible. Like we were pampered in that hunting lodge. They provided our food, like they would cook for us, cook and clean, like take care of us, and the owners would hang out with us at night and tell us about like the country and all the stuff. And some of the guys ended up hunting. I didn't really partake in that. I was just there for the competition. But man, we were there, so we had to show up multiple days before the shooting started. One, to time shift and get ready for it was a 7-hour time shift for me. So you want to make sure that and I still don't think I was fully, time shifted by the time the match started for the first couple of days, but that's neither here nor there. It's tough. I prepped even at home. I started going to bed earlier and earlier to get used to it, but something about the air or something, I'm not really sure. It was a little weird, but there was that. And then by the time the match started, like the opening ceremony and all that, and we were just hanging out and eating and drinking and whatnot at the lodge, just hanging out, having a good time. And like by the time the match started, we were like, dude, like I just want to stay at the lodge. Like, I just want to hang out. We all said that like if for some reason we couldn't shoot the match, or like God forbid got DQ'd or something, we'd just be like, well, all right, I'm just gonna go back to the lodge and hang out.
That's Team USA's attitude right there.
I know it sounds terrible, and like obviously we were joking, right? But like truly, it was just so amazing that we were. My trip was made well before the match even started. Like I'm sure a lot of people have seen the videos and photos of me like holding the baby lion, and like all the animals that were in the backyard and everything. Like it was just truly such an amazing experience. South Africa is a beautiful country. Many people were worried for my safety and whatnot, and like. Sure, I'm sure there were some pretty bad parts, but and I was sheltered in a hunting lodge. But even as we were traveling and whatnot, like there are bad parts around the world everywhere, right? I mean, I live in Birmingham, Alabama, which is actually one of the highest crime rate index cities in the entire country. It's like in the bottom 1%. It's very isolated, and if you're not in the wrong place at the wrong time, usually you're pretty good. And I feel kind of the same way in South Africa. Like obviously, maybe I could be wrong. I was there for only 2 weeks, but yeah, I didn't feel unsafe. People were nice. Locals were nice. There were at the opening ceremony, like for example, there was a bus full of school children, and we were walking past, and they saw our USA jerseys, and they would they popped out of the window, and they were like, "Are you American?" And we were like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" And like I handed them one of the USA like little USA flags on a stick that we had at the opening ceremony, and they thought it was so cool and everything. Like it was a really cool experience, man. Like I would go back without the shooting. Like I'd go back just to go and hang out and vibe there. So it was truly awesome. And then obviously the match was great too. Like seeing a lot of people that have reached out on Instagram from abroad that I had never met before or hadn't seen in a long time, and being able to see them in person and seeing everybody there, like all the best shooters in the entire world congregated into one place, shooting one singular match together was just an awesome experience. So it was awesome. I loved the 2 hour format. We basically shot in 2 to 2.5 hour blocks. We shot 6 stages in 2 hours.
That's so wild.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's got to be, right. There's 1,600 competitors. It has to be efficient. It has to move quickly. Stages are usually simpler for that reason as well. Eric says this was the easiest world shoot that he shot, so take that for what you will. But yeah, it moved very quickly. I thought the stages were fun. Yes, there was a lot of it was a lot more hosey than I was expecting it as well. But at the end of the day, everyone's shooting the same stages, right? So you either execute or you don't. And so that was fun. And I loved the 2 hour block. Like I said, you shoot 2.5 hours, you go home, you hang out and hang out.
You get back to the lodge, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the lodge where I really want to belong. So yeah, that was a good time. Closing ceremony was very cool. Obviously, it was just so awesome to be there at my first world shoot ever, to be on that podium next to Christian and Brian. And so that was very, very cool. And yes, it went on quite a little long, but absolutely an experience that was worth every bit of it. So
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably such a surreal moment too. I mean, obviously, one, getting to represent USA and all of us back here, but to actually win it too is crazy. Like your first world shoot, you go like you're spoiled now. Like that's
I know it's all.
the next one you go to, you gotta win it.
There's only one way to. Yeah, there's only one thing that's like so. Yeah, we'll see. We'll work at, and it's gonna be in Italy. That's gonna be awesome too. So that'd be very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And was Alex your direct bunkmate or?
Yeah, he. So there were suites, and so he was my suite mate. Like your brother. Yeah, he was. We shared a bathroom. It was like what do they call it? I'm gonna butcher it. Jack and Jill style. Is it? Where you get 2 rooms and you have a bathroom in the middle.
I think so.
Yeah, so
No one's
it
gonna
was
make
like.
fun of us, but that's all right.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm sure that's wrong, but he was sick the first few days, so he was just hogging the bathroom.
He had like food
he's
poisoning or something, I think, right?
Yeah, so no, but he was super awesome. Him and Gutierrez were there, and it was cool sharing a little space with them. So that was awesome.
Yeah, no, that's funny. I mean, that sounds like an unreal experience. But yeah, I mean, thank you a lot for your time. I think people are going to take a ton of value from this. I know
Awesome.
you started coaching. If someone wants to get coaching from you, or they want to, find some of your online content or anything like that, like how can they find you? How can they reach you?
I am so terrible at. I like to post. Like during the off season, I wasn't shooting much, so I didn't. I do a terrible job at it sometimes, and it sometimes comes in spurts. So I apologize. But yeah, on Instagram is where I'm most active, and you can just DM me. I'm pretty responsive to DMs, and I love when people reach out. So feel free to do that anytime. I do coach. It's a little bit more low key. I don't do it for a living or anything like that. So I do it every once in a while when I can. Usually I encourage people to reach out to me. I have a list of people that I contact every time I put a class up, and it's been months since I've had one because it's been cold. I think I might do one in March, and my list of people that wanted to know about my next class is like getting very long, and so I might have to make it a 2-parter, or I might have to do a few in a row. But yeah, I normally do that. I very rarely do privates, but sometimes I will. So if you're interested, reach out. But if I am unable to for whatever reason, don't take it personally. There's just a lot going on, and again, this isn't my primary job or anything like that. So I love to teach, but sometimes I just have to kind of like limit it. I could, otherwise it. But reach out anyway. Ask. Don't be scared to ask or anything like that. So love
You
hearing.
have the online program as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. So that was the last thing too. So I've been working with Joey. Aaron's got some classes on there. Travis has some classes on there. But Practical Shooting Training Library (PSTL) If you just go to my page, there's a lot of stuff on there that we collab on. So definitely hit that up. You can check it out. I actually put out a video recently in the last few weeks of like showing like how to like go and how easy it is to sign up and like access some of the classes. There are free classes out there too. I don't have a free class yet, but Aaron got like a free dry fire one, and Travis has one on Reload. So if you make an account, which takes 2 seconds, you can literally get free content on there. So definitely check it out. Like I said, I've gotten so much good feedback on me personally, my transition and blending courses, and I'm sure Aaron's gotten the same on his, and Travis has the same on his. But check them out. And I love to interact with people that watch the course, at least my courses, because they're the ones I can speak to and reach out and have questions or anything like that. But the amount of feedback I've gotten on those has been amazing. Really just blew me out of the water. I didn't really expect that. So, yeah, I think they're doing what they're supposed to, which is awesome. And so, yeah, if you're interested at all in transitions or blending, then check that out. Also, Joey's been asking me lately for dates for another shooting day, like shooting as in like shooting film. So for another potential class or two, I have a couple of ideas, but if anyone has anything that they specifically want to learn from or would love to see something covered, like definitely hit me up, DM me on Instagram and let me know. And maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks for your time, man, and hope to see some major matches this year.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And I wasn't looking at, I was seeing some questions scroll through and I didn't look at all of them, but I saw one that said, like, Christian and Edens are pushing more into LO. Am I going to stay open? I'm going to try. Like I said at the beginning of this, like, I tried and I'm going to try again, right? Because I have two beautiful masterpiece LOC V1s, right? They need to get shot. They need to be used. So I think I'm going to, after this weekend, switch back to LO potentially, and try that, give that another go for another few months, and we'll see where it goes. At the end of the day, I'm an open shooter at heart, so if there's like a big match coming up, and the nationals this year do count, from what I understand, for world shoot slots. So those are, I believe, August and October, I think, the two nationals. So as I get closer to that, I'll have to switch back to open, or I will switch back to open. But maybe in the meantime, for a few months, I'll go to LO because it's fun, and a lot of my friends shoot LO. And there are competitors out there that are amazing. Brantley for one of them. Brantley used to live in Tuscaloosa, 1 hour from me, when he started shooting, and he and I started shooting about the same time. And so we're boys, and we shot together, like kind of like grew up in USPSA together. We used to train a lot and stuff like that until he moved to work with Lucas. He's always telling me that we're always like playfully going back and forth, and his goal is to beat me when I'm shooting open and he's shooting his Glock. So
Wild man.
it's awesome shooting with him. So he's always going for that. And but maybe I'll give him some LO action at this point, because it's always hard for me and him to compare when we're shooting two different divisions. So it'd be fun to compete with him when I'm shooting LO. So yeah, maybe we'll see something.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, have a good night, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here, dude. I really it's been fun. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
you too.
Yeah.
Bye.